What if the life you've been dreaming of isn't as far away as you think? Welcome to the Transforming Lives Panel podcast, where real stories meet radical change. With hosts Sharmin Prince and Mitzi DeDown.
Together, they bringing you unfiltered conversations with trailblazers, experts, and everyday people who've turned their struggles into strength. No fluff, just the tools and mindset shifts you need to rewrite your story.
Whether you're stuck in your career, relationships, or personal growth, consider this your wake-up call. Press play on transformation. Come on, dive in.
Welcome to the Transforming Lives Panel podcast. I am your host, Sharmin Prince, and I'm alone. Mitzi's not here. And we have a guest, but before we continue, I want you to join us in a few minutes of deep breathing so that we can be centered and grounded together for the next 45 minutes. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, in and out. In and out. And as you take this next inhale, think about the things that happened today and that can prevent you from being grounded, centered, and present. And let it go on the exhale. Take a deep breath in and let go. In again and let go. Thank you so much for joining us. Today I want you to meet Jesseca, a registered nurse turned holistic healer. She's an intuitive coach and spiritual guide. After a profound dark night of the soul in 2021, she discovered the transformative power of spiritual and natural healing, overcoming debilitating depression and stepping into a life of joy and purpose. Now, as a PhD candidate in metaphysical sciences and the founder of her own holistic practice, Jesseca blends science, intuition, and soul-led wisdom to help others heal and thrive. Through her gifts as a healer and powerful storyteller, she empowers people to find inner peace, reclaim their health, and connect with their highest selves. Whether through her coaching, writing, or this podcast, her mission is simple: to guide you through abundance, body, soul, and spirit. What mantra, ritual do you use to help you shift in those moments when you don't feel whole, feel disconnected? What are the tools that you utilize?
I cry a lot. When I feel down, I cry, and that's helpful. I don't restrict myself from crying anymore. And I feel my feelings, and I remind myself that out of this situation, the mantra that I say is, out of this situation, nothing but good will come. I may not understand this bad or negative feeling, but I'm growing and I'm learning from this, and everything's going to be okay. And just reminding myself that this is not forever, this is temporary, and this too shall pass. I do my best to focus on gratitude and on my breath. I like to watch my hands and my feet, the way they move. And I think it's very important to get into nature, to sit by trees, even to watch ducks or squirrels or whatever animals are around that are safe to be around. I think it's a combination of things. If we're staying inside and we're staying on watching TV and scrolling on Instagram and watching Netflix and just eating and laying down and just stuffing our emotions away and avoiding them, that's fine. That may be like a solution for every now and then, but sometimes we have to sit with it. Because it's always something deeper. It's not just what's happening right now. There's a lot of humans that can be really mean and difficult and cruel for sure. But our offense to that usually is derived from something that was installed in us, a belief that's not even truly ours.
But society deems the exhibition and even, yeah, I would use that word, of emotions as
Mhm.
weak.
Yeah.
Even labels it as weak. How can one honor their feelings without becoming overwhelmed by it? Because you mentioned someone in the house scrolling Instagram, watching television, and
Mm.
drowning in their whatever their emotional pain. How do you help them to honor their feelings without becoming overwhelmed by that?
Well, I think it kind of comes to a point where, you can have a bottle with some components in it that you can have um like carbonated water in a bottle and you shake it up. You can shake it up and in some time it's gonna explode. So we want to learn how to take the ebb and flows of life because they're constant, they're constantly happening. We're very sensitive human beings, and I think it's really important to have a loving and supportive community. Also, someone who is wise, maybe an elderly person who has a little bit more emotional regulation and experience themselves, and a connection with God through meditation and breath work and getting out into nature to allow, when emotional times happen to pass. But we're in a modern time where we can't always do exactly what helps us in that moment because of work or our responsibilities and etc. So things can get built up and we have to find our own individual way to release that, and my way not be the way for everyone else. um like what I do is everything I just said: connection with God, I meditate, I exercise a lot, I stretch a lot, I get into nature every single day, and I build the curiosity for the way plants are, the way leaves are shaped. And I observe leaves, I observe flowers, the way they move, the way they smell, the way they look, and I observe and listen to the birds. I never used to do that before, but now I have this growing curiosity of what the birds are saying. I don't understand what they're saying, but I know that we could in the past, our ancestors could, because they didn't have all these things distracting them. They didn't have all these beauty standards and all these clothing standards and housing standards and all these other things that distracted them from us connecting to nature. But preventing an explosion, emotional explosion, is a little bit difficult when it's something that's just being hindered all the time.
And what is
It
at
takes.
least a universal or a few universal steps that one can take if they're overwhelmed with their emotions?
I think being present as best as they can and focusing on their breath and focusing on their connection with God. Because we are very sensitive as human beings. You can take a bone and you can only bend a bone so far before it breaks. We break each other as human beings all the time. We as humans, we don't care. Not this is not everyone, but this is just a general statement. Many people do not care about other people's feelings. And it is our individual responsibility to be responsible for our emotions. But it gets difficult. It's difficult when someone is constantly tearing us down, or someone's calling us names, or our parents don't love us, or our family doesn't love us. There's all kinds of components that can make it really difficult. Um, but a universal thing is just focusing on our breath, on the present moment, and our connection with God. That's just, or a higher power. And God may not be the term for everyone, and that's just my name that I like to say. But higher power, or Allah, or Jah, or however someone likes to say, I represent all of them, and I support every, spiritual practice, even religion. I highly support religion because it's just another form of getting closer to God, and we experience these emotional uprisings because, including myself again, because we forget about God. And I reflect at, I had a recent experience where I felt extremely overwhelmed by something. I just had so much, I had so many people coming at me, and I couldn't handle it. So I just started crying. And that was my immediate emotional response. And that may not have been my emotional response a couple years ago, but that was what I felt in that moment. I felt so overwhelmed. I felt so little. And in that moment where I broke down, I wasn't surrendering to God, and I wasn't focusing on God. And I realized that, and it's something I'm working on myself. We just like that bone example, we can take a bone and we can only bend it so far before it breaks. We have to know our sensitivities, and we have to just gently work on our sensitivities to build strength. Because over time and with practice, we can have that strength.
Is there a blueprint or a list of daily holistic practice for emotional, spiritual, mental strength and resilience that you would give to someone who is your client?
Yes. Yeah. So my focus is big on natural nervous system and natural hormone regulation, and building a connection with a higher power and with oneself. And it may look different for some other people. It's individualized, with whatever someone's needs are. But the main thing is meditation, breath work, and just the appropriate steps to meet our human physiologic needs and psychological needs as well. But physiologically, we're put in environments where there's really bright lights. We're on their phones all the time. There's all these demands and responsibilities. There's a lot in this modern time, but we have many people, not every single person. We have the capability of determining how we fall asleep and how we wake up and how we carry our body throughout the day. I think that's very important to learn how to do these practices that are natural for a human body, because we're supposed to be in nature. We're supposed to be in tribes, and we're supposed to live outside. And we're not. We're in houses with all this controlled air, which is nice. It's comfortable. We're the most comfortable time ever. And it's nice. But we're so miserable at the same time. Why are we so miserable if we have every single thing that our ancestors worked for?
You said we're supposed to be outside, we're supposed to be in nature, we're supposed to be living in community. But someone listening to this podcast may be saying to themselves, I've never lived outside.
Mm-hmm.
The community I live in with is my family. I don't have access to nature because I live in the inner city. How do we encourage them? Because we don't want to exclude them, but how do we encourage them to bring nature's wisdom indoors?
I don't want to discourage anyone, because I live in a house myself. I have a job in a building. I'm a college professor, so it's like I'm inside. I do get out as much as possible. And there's still some times where I get stuck inside of my house, or I get stuck working. it's possible in a modern time. And the solutions are to grow inside your house, have plants inside of your house. And even though someone may be in the city, there still are trees and plants. And when you're around those, I think it's important to focus on them, to really pay attention to them, sit by them, touch them, see how they feel and they are. And it's not a, it's like that's just our nature as human beings. We're naturally supposed to be outside and we're supposed to be in tribes, but we have evolved over time into a society where that's not acceptable anymore, to by a bigger standard. We just have to we have to do individually what is best for ourselves. And if we may not know, we have to find a curiosity for trying things that we may be afraid to try. Okay. And
Overcoming fear.
instead of seeing things, protect ourselves, of course, still do things to protect yourself. But we have to do things that we think that are weird, that are culturally told to us as wrong or bad or weird or disgusting. Because many things that a lot of cultures have deemed as bad or wrong, it's not. And it's okay, it's fine. This is just the part of the evolvement of the human mind, and it's an amazing experience when we not overcome, but when we transform our beliefs. It's something that is really profound, and that deeper thing within us that changes us is a higher power, which lays in the deep depths of our mind, all of us. And there's this thing, there's so many things within the cosmos and spiritual world, but there's like a karmic cycle that we're supposedly in. And it may not be in this lifetime that we discover these things. I honestly, I don't know my entire karmic cycle and what my entire life purpose is entirely, because I don't know if, I would love to be enlightened, but I don't honestly do not think that that's part of my capability in this lifetime. But
What
I
is a
definitely have
karmic cycle?
overcome
What
the
is a
karmic
karma?
cycle. Karma, so a lot of people know of that word karma, but karma really means action. And I think it's derived from yoga. Yoga is the practice of life. Essentially, it's not just an exercise. It really is connecting with life and with higher power. But karma is you give out what you get back what you give out. So it's an exchange of both good and bad energies. So a lot of people say, oh, he got his karma. But karma is also a good thing. And the karmic cycle of life is having to be reincarnated into the physical form. Say we're in this, say I'm in this lifetime right now, and I do so good, or I do something that frees myself from the illusion of the ego that we're in, then I won't have to return to a physical body unless I decide to. So within the karmic cycle of life, we decide and we choose to come back into the person that we are today and every single lifetime that we're here for. I I am on my 70th life right now. And I know that because a whisper told that to me in my ear, and it wasn't from a human being. It was from something, I don't know, a spirit, but that's my belief. Not everyone has to believe in the karmic cycle, but it's proven in physics. Like attracts like. You get what you get back what you give out. There is this attraction, this pull of energy that is scientifically proven, and that is part of karma.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In wrapping up, I like to do rapid fire at the end of the episode. I'll just fire some questions to you and you answer them
Okay.
to help our listeners. I feel God loves in nature, but struggles to feel it in my daily life. How can I reconnect?
That's you're not alone there. The way that you can reconnect, I suggest, is just on the focusing on the amazement that you have, the capabilities that you have as a human being, and your heart beating and your lungs breathing without even thinking about it. and also focusing on the highlights of the people around you and their gifts. And your gifts. Your gifts number one.
Thank you. I'm overwhelmed by my emotions. How do I stop seeing them as a burden?
That is definitely a belief transformation that can help. And shifting one's perspective on how they see their emotions, and instead of seeing it as a burden, rather seeing it as a little touch from God to dive deeper into connecting with one's connection with a higher power, their higher power, and with their soul.
Great. I don't even know who my authentic self is anymore. Where do I start?
Well, that's okay. Many, there's, I don't even fully know my authentic self. I think it's giving oneself grace and doing things that you're curious about and doing things that you like without shame or guilt or fear of opinions of other people. And trying different things and having your preferences, heightening your preferences. Like, I have this preference, I'm not going to do this, even though you think I should or you want me to, or my family says I should. Sticking on what one likes and discovering through curiosity and doing things that are scary, but still protecting oneself.
I'm skeptical about holistic healing. What's one tangible thing I can try to test it?
Well, that's okay. I would suggest meditating for 1 hour. You'll definitely see something.
But I don't know how to meditate for 5 minutes. How can I meditate for an hour?
Meditation is not about being fully present. It's not about having no thoughts. The practice of meditation is always bringing that awareness back to the present moment. It's okay if you forget and think about something a million different times or a million different ways. It's about bringing yourself back to the present moment. And I think it's important to look, when you close your eyes, to look at what you see behind your eyes. And what I see usually is just I see black and I see a lot of colored dots. They could be rainbow or they could be solid blue sometimes. But with my focus on that, it transforms. And I think it's important to focus through meditation. Just bring yourself back to the present moment. And when you get back to the present moment, focus on behind your eyes, focus on your breath, and just focus on the colors that you see behind your eyes or whatever you see behind your eyes.
How do you know what advice to give in the moment? Is it training? Is it intuition? Or is it both?
I think intuition and just, I've worked with so many people. I'm not always the person for everyone, but I think just my own intuition and just being as kind as possible and just meeting somewhere halfway where they're at with yourself instead of expecting people to be where you're at. So that's something that I used to do and sometimes still do with some people. Something I'm working on, I'm not perfect and it's hard. We have so many humans in this world and so many people have all these boundaries and all these expectations of us. And we have all these expectations. We all just got to lighten up a little bit. And I don't know. I follow my intuition. Some things just come to me easily. And some things, I may not be the right person for someone or
How do you
or
know
if
you're
not,
not? How do you know that you're not the right person for someone?
usually by the way that they react to me or talk to me. It's usually when someone's unwilling, then I would not like to work with them. And if they're going to hold me responsible for the way they feel. But when someone's willing and is able to express their needs and is able to express their boundaries, because a lot of people have boundaries and needs and they don't express them. I'm an easy person to work with, though, and I'm easy to talk to, but a lot of people don't know how to communicate that, or they don't know, they're afraid to because of a lot of other people's reactions. Um, But if someone has a problem with me, I would love for them to talk about it. And I think that there is a different way to talk about problems. It doesn't have to be done through anger or yelling or someone being right and someone being wrong. There's just a different way. It doesn't have to be like that.
Thank you so much, Jesseca. What would you like to leave with our listeners? Something that you haven't covered?
Um, I think just emotional, how would I say this? Realizing that our emotions come from within our body and that we are capable, all of us, to feel a certain way based off of our decision. And even though that takes time, I'm still working on mastery of that that we're responsible for it and we're responsible for our life's experience. And we just got to lighten up. We got to let ourselves off the hook. We got to give up the shame and the blame about ourselves, and we got to let other people's off the hook. And, humans are, you're here on this earth, things that definitely need um, there to be something for, there are things that can't just be brushed off the shoulder for sure. But many things can just be not taken personal. And this is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. I just highly suggest everyone to read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz and his other book, which is, I think, The Fifth Agreement. And then there's another book about love. And he's a native man. These are all native teachings from Toltec tribe that was here a while ago. And it was just a different way of living in peace and harmony with other humans and with the earth and animals.
Excellent to end. Whew. You just mentioned one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
And you took me, one of those agreements to be impeccable with your words. So let's end by finishing this sentence. You're truly on the healing path when fill in the blanks.
When you feel good, you feel happy without things, and you don't feel the need to blame yourself or anyone else.
Thank you, Jesseca.
Thank you so much.
If today's episode sparked something in you, don't let it end here. Change starts with action. Hit subscribe and join our community of life chasers.
We want to hear from you. While we don't have social media, you can connect with us through our personal YouTube channels.
Share your biggest takeaway and let us know how you're transforming your life. Remember, your next level life begins the moment you decide to claim it. Until next time, keep transforming.